What's up guys, Corvus95 here and welcome to another episode of my Pokemon Showdown team reviews. I believe this is episode 3 and this is for my team that I've used for the past week in the RU tier. It's been a pretty fun team to use. There's been noticeable downsides however with the team, and Ambipom isn't really one of them. Ambipom's been a very solid Pokemon to use. I wouldn't say it's shone, definitely not. It's very obvious moveset, fake out, knockoff, low kick and U-turn. Some people don't expect the low kick or the knockoff, but fake out, U-turn, very obvious. Ghost type switch-ins are very common on me, and more often than not, even though the focus sash is helpful, often Pokemon like to use knockoff on Ambipom itself. So yeah, but Ambipom on the whole, with that base 100 attack, base 115 speed, is a very solid Pokemon in this tier, I found. It could probably be improved. It's obviously a good lead. I used it in most of my battles as my lead. I mean, I suppose you could use Chinchino. I don't believe it gets fake out, however. You can use Hitmonlee as your fake out lead if you want. We've also got, there's actually not that many normal types in this tier. You've got Smeargle you could use for some extra support. And that's basically it in terms of normal types. You've got Meloetta and Exploud. Exploud's actually very good with Scrappy and Hyper Voice or Boom Burst. Got Braviary, but it has the flying type as well. So yeah, I definitely recommend you at least try out Ambipom. It might not be for you, but it's a very solid Pokemon. Next up, I'd probably say the most solid member of the team, and that is Gastrodon. Storm Drain gives it immunity to water type moves. I didn't really need that immunity. No one on the team is actually weak to water, but it's always helpful. We've got Scald, Earth Power, Counter, Recover. I only got Counter off once and it did get me a kill, so I was happy with that. Scald and Earth Power put in some work. I believe Gastrodon got 4 or 5 kills overall, which I was very happy with. Recover, it does lack a bit in the fact that it doesn't have a way to wear down Pokemon that it can't do much to. So when a special wall comes in that attacks on the special side, I have very little to do to it. So if Gastrodon's my last Pokemon against that Pokemon, they pretty much are going to win. It's the the defensive set. We've got 252 HP, 252 defense, 4 special attack. It could be improved. One thing I've noticed about this team, and my teams in general, I very rarely bring a Rapid Spinner, and because of the prevalence of Sticky Web, I've been really struggling due to that. Because Sticky Web's lowering of my Pokemon's speed is so painful. It's like a miniature Thunder Wave. And the reason I like to run Thunder Wave is not for the 50% chance or whatever it is that they'll not be able to do anything. It's just slowing them down is so good in Pokemon in general, in competitive at least, that you can't sleep on it at all. So yeah, I think Gastrodon has been the star of the show this week. Very solid. Very rarely feared switching out into Gastrodon, which is a thing that this team really struggled with actually. There wasn't 2 solid walls I could switch into. I had Gastrodon on the physical side, and it could take special hits decently well, but on the special side, I didn't really have anything to switch in, and a lot of the Pokemon in this tier use special moves, or at least the ones I was coming up against. Embo, big threat, especially with Sucker Punch. Very annoying. We'll get into that in a minute, but next up, Jolteon. Jolteon, very standard, Volt Absorb, Choice Specs, Table, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, Volt Switch. I suppose Signal Beam's not that standard, but I thought due to the amount of where are they? You've got Absol that's weak to it. You've also got, it does pretty well against Bronzong, although Shadow Ball's better. You've got Delphox, it does, although Shadow Ball's better. Okay, it's not that great, but I brought it because I prefer it over Hidden Power Ice. There wasn't really that many things that Hidden Power Ice did much against. This is why I mainly brought Signal Beam. For stuff like Tangrowth, you got Rotom Mow, got Trevenant, although I can hit that with a Shadow Ball as well. Venusaur and Virizion it actually does okay against as well. Yeah, so Jolteon didn't perform as well in this tier as it did in one of the higher tiers when I used it. Which is quite surprising that it does better against stronger Pokemon than it does against the weaker ones. But I suppose that's just because less people expect it maybe in the higher tiers. It might be quite common in this tier. Although I only think I ran into 1 or 2 Jolteons in the 10 battles I did. But Jolteon pretty solid, not amazing. I think that goes for the team on a whole. It was a pretty solid team, but wasn't amazing. It got us a positive win ratio, so I'm happy with that. I believe it was 7-3 in the end, or 6-4. I think it was either 6-4 or 7-3. But it wasn't a standout team like some of the others have been. On to our biggest failure on this team, unfortunately. The first time I got to use this Pokemon in competitive, and it's not that great. I'm sorry Hooper, you're just not. The fact that with base 70 speed, max speed, timid, 252 investment, and a choice scarf, it still gets outsped by quite a lot of stuff. It's just ridiculous. It's so pathetic sometimes. I'll switch in and I get a free switch in Hooper, expect to outspeed. If I outspeed, I'm going to kill them. But they just kill me off because it's so frail as well physically. 60 base defense is just pathetic. And it's just so... I wanted it to be so good, but it's just not because of that pitiful defense and pathetic speed start. Plus, as I mentioned before, Embo, big threat, can apparently learn Sucker Punch. Didn't know that. I think I lost 2 Hooper to Sucker Punch Embo. Very annoying. Especially when he knows I'm locked in because I'm Choice Scarfed. So yeah, I don't think I'd recommend Hooper. And it's as bad as that. That's just the truth of it. And it's probably the first or maybe the second Pokemon across all of these tiered battles where I wouldn't recommend even trying it out. If you can get it to work, brilliant. But Choice Scarf, max speed, max special attack does not work for this Hooper set. I think I had one battle where I got 2 kills and that was the best it did. And as my main sweeper, that's just not good enough. So on to the next Pokemon, we have Venusaur, very solid of course. Didn't take special attacks as well as I wanted it to. I had a very strange setup because I wanted to run some special defense investment. I don't think I ran enough because I was taking a lot from special attacks. It also takes a lot on the physical defensive side. I think you really need Mega Venusaur, which you can't use in this tier unfortunately. Venusaur just lacks something now. After having tried out Mega Venusaur, regular Venusaur just doesn't tank hits as well as I remember it tanking hits. It's the same with Mega Swampert and Swampert. I used to think of Swampert as a brilliant wall, where you switch it in, you take about a quarter to a third of your health lost to whatever attack your opponent used, unless it was a grass type move, and then you'd be able to wall them. But now with Mega Swampert, I feel like it takes the quarter to a third health, whereas regular Swampert takes like half its health instantly gone, and it's a 2-shot for your opponent. It's the same kind of thing with Venusaur. I'd switch it in on a physical move and it would get two-shot, and it would usually get outsped by whatever I was facing. So it wasn't disappointing though. It did put in some work with Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain. A lot of people weren't expecting Synthesis, so they guessed low, thinking that I only had Leech Seed to heal myself, and then I'd use Synthesis, heal myself up, and they'd be in a bad position because of that, because they had let their Pokemon go down low, thinking that they were about to kill me off. So Leftovers was okay. I suppose I should technically run Black Sludge on it, because if anyone tries to trick me, then they get hurt by the Black Sludge. So that was actually a misplay on my behalf there. And our final Pokemon, Normal Gem boosted Fake Out Hitmonlee. Pretty standard and pretty obvious to predict, which is unfortunate. Quite a lot of people didn't predict it having knockoff though. Like, quite a lot of people would switch in a Psychic type. Like, quite obviously, like, I'd already revealed the Psychic type. Then I'd bring out Hitmonlee, and they'd switch out to the Psychic type, even though the knockoff was pretty predictable, I felt. Well, maybe knockoff's not standard on Hitmonlee. Maybe you go with Stone Edge over it, more often than not. Maybe you replace Poison Jab with Bullet Punch and knock off with Stone Edge, you could. I do like this set, although it is obvious. Blaze Kick you could also put on. I'd really like it if there was another way of triggering Unburden without having to lose your item. Or if there was an easier way to lose your item than having to go for Fake Out. Because you have to succeed on the Fake Out as well, and you can only use it on the first turn. So if your opponent uses Protect, or the switch in a Ghost type, or I believe even if it misses somehow, I don't know how it would miss, but if they fly, for some reason they have Fly on the Pokemon, or the Dig or whatever, then all those situations you're going to miss your Fake Out, and then you're going to have to switch out to get an Unburden boost, and it only lasts as long as you stay in. It's not permanent boost throughout the battle. So it's okay. It's not like Ambipom. I definitely recommend you try it out. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But I think on the whole, it's a generally positive Pokemon. The predictability is the same thing that Ambipom suffers from, and the same thing that the majority of this team unfortunately suffers from. A lot of my opponents, especially later on in the week, got very good at predicting what I was about to do. And that's probably the biggest failing of this team. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode, guys. If you have enjoyed, leave a like on the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And from me, Corvus95, thank you guys so much for watching.